And I'm sorry, I'm not very excited about that, I promise. This has been a weekend, right? A little bit memorable. My name is Lowell Olcott. I'm the product manager of Integrative Technologies.
And I'm Keitt-Pride. I'm the product manager for rigging and power systems.
And we have a little bit of a catch-all presentation for you this morning, trying to, again, just get you up and running for the classes that you'll be taking throughout the day. We're going to take a look at some power systems, some rigging systems, and some networking systems throughout the course this morning. Again, just doing that sort of basic overview so you can get an idea of the products you'll learn more about throughout the rest of the day. So I'll start off.
Yeah, just really quick. The rigging, power, networking, the common link between all of these product lines is that these provide a backbone for all of the other systems that we've been talking about this weekend. So all of the control systems, all of the lighting fixture systems, everything else requires these sort of behind-the-scenes product series in order to function. So that's what we're going to be talking about a little bit, and we're going to start with Lowell.
Yeah. So jumping in and starting with the networking products, these are going to be a lot of our products that interpret from one protocol to another. Now, shameless plug, later on this afternoon there is a class, Power and Data, A Tale of Two Control Methods, which is going to go really in depth into individual control protocols. If you're interested in that, please definitely come see that class. But first thing I'm going to start off is our newest product line. This is our Response Mark II gateways. They are releasing imminently. The 2 and 4 port we'll talk about in a second already are out, and the 1 port will be coming just a little bit after that. And this is a SACN to DMX conversion product. So as we get into the networking world, as we get more and more involved with larger and larger systems, the ability to switch between a network-based system and a traditional DMX-based system becomes even more paramount. As much as we all love networking, there's still that DMX line for the last mile to your fixtures, to your control, or from your control products. So this is really a great tool to help with that. So our 1 port line is aptly named because it has 1 port. We have a 2 port and 4 port. I'm pretty sure you can all fill in what we'll be talking about with that. A couple of new things that I want to just introduce with this line. We've added a OLED screen and a 4-button interface to every product. One of the biggest complaints that we got against our older line was it was really difficult to make changes or see exactly what was going on the device itself. So these all have full OLED screens that we can come in and take a look at. And I have a little video I'll show you about configuring those in a second. These do fit in a standard decorator style one gang option. And we do also have a portable version of that. So if you're doing a more theatrical application or something where you might have an infrastructure that's changing or moving a little bit, that we do have the portable option there. The 1 gang unit wall mount is available in gray, cream, black, and white. And the portable is available in black and white. All, again, taking our Ethernet in one side and our DMX in or out from the front of there. A number of different port options for whatever type of connector you're working with, either a male or female XLR or an RJ45 option as we're moving into that world a little bit more. We also then have a brand new 2 port. So very similar concept, just with a secondary port. All completely configurable, what universe you wanted to listen to, how that's playing together. These also do have a couple of other features. We have a touch-to-wake sensor, so if you just put your hand on top of it, you can wake it up and see exactly what's going on. And we've got, again, the same 4 color options in our 2 port. This fits in a standard 2 gang back box. We do like that little bit deeper back box just because there's a bit of cabling and information on the back of that, but it does work in a standard box. And then there is a portable version of that. So again, similar concept, just giving you that portable capability. Moving into our most popular line, this is our 4-port gateways. These are designed to either be portable or put into a rack mount situation. They are each a half width of a rack mount, so you can fit 2 in one 1U installation. They come with a number of different connectors here. A terminal for more of our installation usage, an RJ45, a set of 1 input and 3 output, a full set of output, and a full set of input. Again, also the same thing with the screens on the front, so you can come in and make all of your changes and configurations. One big feature request that we had in these gateways was the ability to choose whether or not the Ethernet connector is on the front or the rear of the unit. So you actually now have the ability to field switch that. So you can choose whether or not you want that on the front or the back. And again, all the same configuration options, same support for SACN and DMX conversion, just giving you that nice 4 ports. If you are working more in an installation market, we also do have a DIN rail version of this. So the DIN rail version is all of the same feature set, but just in that more compact DIN rail style functionality. And we have a number of different mounting options and places that we can have that particular gateway live, just giving that ability to distribute our data anywhere we need inside of a system. Here's just a little video of some usage of that, showing how simple it is to work with the front of that screen. You can also do a large amount of diagnostics, including seeing the full level status of each individual address on all the different ports, set universe, turn on and on RDM, set your IP address, just a really great interface. You can also work with our concert software, which I'll go into in a little bit, about configuring all of those different ports and options. Moving away from the DMX conversion and into some of our other protocols, this is the response MIDI Gateway. So if you are working with MIDI timecode in any of our console world, this is a nice little backpack-friendly unit. It's about this big, and it can just live wherever you want, either connected back into the console over USB or over an Ethernet connector, MIDI in, out, and through, talking right back to the console families. And having that control. There will be a SMPTE version of this coming very, very soon. It'll look almost identical, except for it'll just have the 1 XLR port as opposed to the 3 MIDI ports. Moving into our integration family a little bit more, this is the Analog I/O Gateway. This is one of my favorite products. It is the ultimate integration tool. So this is 12 analog inputs and 12 relay outputs, all in one DIN rail mounted box. And what's fabulous about this is all of the inputs and all of the relays can either be controlled by or control SACN, ACN, or UDP messages. So it can really integrate with any of our products. So if you need to take a contact signal in and trigger a paradigm system, or trigger a mosaic system, or trigger a console, you can do that all with this one unit. Or if you need to have any relay output, you've got the same option. This is, again, a triggering-based relay, so not more of the power control relays that Ned will talk about in a minute, really keeping this in the integration world. The other thing that is really fantastic about this is since we can convert between ACN, SACN, and UDP, you've got a wide variety of integration options. You can actually take a 0 to 10 volt signal in on the analog input and transfer it to an SACN value out on your network if you need to integrate that way. So just a really fun little tool to be able to add integration contacts in and out to any of our systems. The next one I'm going to talk about is our response 0 to 10 volt gateway. This is 24 0 to 10 outputs, sync or source, that we can add into any system controlled over DMX or SACN. This is absolutely fantastic for retrofits. So if you have an older sensor system that you need to add in some 0 to 10 volt controlled new house lights, to be able to just switch over and add this into a system anywhere you need a little bit of extra 0 to 10 volt control, both in retrofits or in new construction. It's just a great little tool to add in. This is also a fully listed device. We do have an emergency contact in, so we can set into emergency states. This is our response. I'm sorry, I have a little typo there. This is our Dolly Gateway. And this is a DMX to Dolly conversion device. So if you are working in one of our systems and you need to add a loop of Dolly here and there, this allows us to put this in, configure all of the Dolly ballast over RDM with the DMX port, and then control all of your Dolly loops from DMX. So it converts from DMX to Dolly. Just a really nice tool to add in Dolly into any system. It is a full loop. You can have multiple of these if you need multiple loops and be able to control and configure with Dolly. The last piece of hardware I want to talk about is the Net3 Conductor. And this is a network monitoring box. So what this does is this lives on the network and it stores every message, every log, some of the configuration files, and it analyzes all that and allows you to keep an eye on your system. And you can see in the right-hand side, you can also set this up to have either email or text message alerts when an error is present in your system. So for instance, if I have this connected, and you notice there are 2 Ethernet ports here, one that goes to your lighting network and one that goes to your secondary network, which is actually can be connected to the internet. If I have something like a fan fail in one of my sensor racks, the sensor rack is going to broadcast that it has that error. It's going to flash its beacon up at the top. That's great, except for maybe no one's in that room ever, and you want to be able to get that notification. So that will then tell the conductor system that there is an error in the system, and you can set up all the different rules that you would like to respond to. So if I get a fan fail error between the hours of 2 in the afternoon and 4 in the morning, send me an email, I'll deal with it the next morning. But if it's during the day, send me a text message, I'll go get it at that time. So you can configure all sorts of different alert types. We can respond with emails, text messages, or UDP messages. So we can actually send messages to other parts of the system to allow you to have that notification and that status update as soon as something goes wrong in your system. Things like power failures. We can even do breaker trips and some more advanced things in the advanced feature power products Ned's going to talk about. Moving into the software world for a second, this is our Concert software, which is our primary control and configuration software in the networking world. What's really fantastic about the Concert software is you can plug it into your system, open up, and you ask it to run what we call a network map, and that is actually going to go out and find all of the different devices that are connected to your network, all the ETC devices, and any RDM devices that are connected to our gateways. It will then draw you a visual map of exactly what your system looks like, how it's all connected, the status of everything. You can see if we're connected to a conductor, we've got errors just down in the bottom right-hand corner, any issues that might be present. And then you can start configuring it. So on the right-hand side here, I have 2 different configuration examples. On the bottom is one of our gateways. So you can actually just come in, double-click on one of these gateways, and set what each of your ports are doing, all from one centralized spot. On the top is actually one of our Echo Relay panels, allowing you to come in, see exactly what's going on there, and configure that as much as possible. This is also a great place for you to analyze the logs and reports from our system, and just generally keep track of exactly what's going on in your ETC system. It's a free piece of software for PC, Mac version coming later this year. Okay. The last piece of software I'm going to talk about before I hand back over to Ned is our Updaterator software. This is another free piece of software, and it is just a localized place for all of your ETC system updates. So this was originally a technician tool that we found was incredibly useful, and we made it a public tool. So it connects back to our servers, downloads all the most recent versions, and when you come in, you have the ability to discover all your devices, and then you're either going to get a set of symbols. So this equals means you're at the most recent version. The little green arrow going up means there is a newer version available. Select which products you would like to update, and click on the update button. This works for just about all of our network-based devices and a lot of our fixtures and accessories over RDM. So just a really useful piece of software to help your clients keep all their systems exactly up to date. Cool. Very quick overview of the network products. Any questions on that before I hand back over to Ned? Yes, sir.
The 2-port gateway, the MK2s.
Yes.
I'm assuming that can be installed in the distribution strips?
Sure. So the question was if the Mark II 2-port gateways can be installed in distribution strips, and absolutely. The 1- and 2-port gateways can fit directly into the distribution options.
Certain distribution options. Not all of our distribution options will support that.
Fair point. We have more than we used to. Our standard, sorry, what is the?
9900 series.
The 9900 series. Great. Thank you. Yes?
The 0 to 10 gateway, can you set individual profiles or curves to each output?
Sure. So in the 0 to 10 volt gateway, the question was if we have curves for each option. So we have 2 curves built in, and in the next couple of weeks, we'll be announcing the ability to do custom curve. You get basically our 2 default curves and 1 custom curve per gateway, but each port can indeed be configured to use whichever of those 3 curve options you'd like.
Is that device individually patchable?
It is indeed, yes. The device is individually patchable was the question. Perfect. Anything else? Fantastic. Well, at that point, I will hand you over to Ned and switch some PowerPoints around.
Okay. Thank you, Lowell. Okay, so I'm going to as efficiently as possible, go through a whole bunch of products. There are a lot of bits and pieces that I will also try to cover that aren't necessarily included in the next series of PowerPoints I'm going to walk through with you. But again, we'll have some questions after a couple of different product lines here. I'm going to do just a quick, well, let's see. The thing that I want to impress is I'm going to show you a lot of little black boxes and some large black boxes over the next 50 minutes or so. Why should you care? Because without them, all you're going to see here just is dark, right? So the value in infrastructure here is that it gives you access to all of the other much cooler looking, more interesting feeling products that we have. All of the amazing lighting fixtures, all of the incredibly powerful control systems rely on thoughtful infrastructure in order for you to have access to all of the features that we provide. So as I'm talking about little black boxes and larger black boxes, think this is my access device to getting all of the rest of ETC, okay? So I'm not going to talk about all of Echo. You've already been through a lot of that. I'm going to talk about our power control products with Echo, and I'm going to start with our zone and room controllers. So each of these products is giving you access to Echo control in a small space. So these are products really for individual systems that, a classroom, an office, a place that is self-contained, where you're not necessarily, though you can link into larger systems, these are things where you're thinking this, about this room is self-contained and self-sufficient. So within that, we have relay controllers. So relay controllers can be a single zone or two zone relay controller options. These will take a single 20 amp circuit in and will provide either one or two outputs for you on a simple relay control. They are one or two Echo addresses. They exist in a single space, even if it's the two-zone system. And they mount to a half-inch knockout, fully rated relay, so you can use the full 20 amps per output. In the dual-zone versions that we have, you still only have the 20 amps. So you can have 10 amps and 10 amps. You can have 16 and 4, 20 and 0, 19 and 1, however you want to split it up, you still only have that 20 amp input. Our 0 to 10 volt controller takes that exact same base unit and adds a 0 to 10 volt output per relay output. So now I can have either one or two 0 to 10 volt outputs. One of the things to note about the 0 to 10 volt infrastructure that we use at ETC, we have gone back and about a year ago, we completed a process of ensuring that all of our 0 to 10 volt outputs are fully isolated from ground. This is an important thing because there isn't regulation on how much mains voltage can leak in a 0 to 10 volt driver. Why is that important? Well, because 0 to 10 volt technology was invented for fluorescent fixtures where you are only going to be able to fit maybe 3 or 4 on a 20 amp circuit. Now that it's been translated into LEDs, you're able to fit 10, 12 or more on a circuit, and that little bit of allowed voltage starts to increase exponentially as you are adding more devices on the line. We've seen a couple 100 volts now coming down on that line. I've had reports of a 277 volt fixture where where a technician was actually sent to the ER because of the amount of voltage that was coming down the 0 to 10 volt low voltage line. It's something that's important to know if you're working on any of these products, but it's something also that we've taken into consideration to say, hey, this isn't going to damage our products. We're not able to control what's on the other end of the line, but your product is going to be safe. And in our manuals, we make sure to warn you to say, hey, measure this before you handle it because we want you to be safe. Smart space controllers take the 0 to 10 volt controller and add some additional functionality. Particularly this was developed specifically before we had our full sensor line for Echo available, and this allows us to connect to third-party sensors for a system. So again, if you have a different sensor line or that you need to connect to, we're able to do that with our smart space controllers. It also has a contact input either from those sensors or if it's going to be triggered by something else. Again, if you have a third-party system that you need to integrate with within a space, we're able to do that with the smart space controllers. And again, those are 1 or 2. Our phase adaptive dimmers, these are only available in single output. It's up to 600 watts. It will do forward or reverse phase dimming. It defaults to reverse phase dimming. If it senses a voltage spike coming back down the line, it will automatically switch to forward phase to A, prevent damage to the dimmer, and B, to properly dim the fixture that it's connected to. It can dim as low as 1 watt minimum load. It's extremely flexible in that regard. And these are really great products for adding into systems where you have mostly relays. Say you're using a larger relay panel product, for example. Being able to tie in a single dimmer here and there for particular loads as part of a larger system is something that becomes really valuable and has a lot of flexibility into that. I'll talk a little bit more about that when we get into the larger panels. One of the things that has changed recently is that we do not support the use of these products with magnetic loads. We are working very diligently on a solution for that, and we'll have a new series of products out in the next few months or several months, specifically for magnetic loads. There's so much, again, that we can't control on the other side of the line that we found that we really needed to focus the technology of our dimmers on that particular requirement in order to do it right. So, our room controllers. So room controllers are available in 4 output or 8 output. They are, essentially, you have a series of inputs and outputs. So you can bring in up to either 4 or 8 20 amp circuits. You can mix and match between 120 volt and 277 volt within the same room controller. You are able to bring in both normal circuits and emergency circuits within the same panel with using voltage barriers. These are extremely flexible. And again, these can be used. We support multiple spaces within a room controller, meaning that you can have one of these feeding multiple classrooms in a row, for example, that you want to have controlled independently. So you don't want to have someone in room A hitting preset 1 and room D is now going to preset 1. You can now have those split up, but in your power infrastructure, you're not necessarily having to wire your input circuits to multiple spaces, given that you just don't need that much power anymore to run a room. So we've tried to make it as flexible for you as possible. These are also available with an integrated time clock on the Echo system. So rather than having to have that in a separate device somewhere else, you can integrate that into the room controller. And then in terms of outputs, each of the outputs has a paired 0 to 10 volt output with it. So you have available relay control, relay with 0 to 10 volt control. These can all be individually managed to be part of the emergency lighting system. You can select which of the outputs are part of the emergency system. You can also select which ones respond to demand response inputs. And so there's also a demand response setting or input. There's also a contact input for the whole room controller. So again, there are multiple ways to trigger this device. We also have a normal power sense circuit in these devices that allow you to bring an emergency normal power sense circuit right into there as well, so you don't need to have a separate emergency sensing device on the wall, trying to make it, again, a complete room solution or a complete small group of space solution for you. One of the other things, so that is our smaller, what we would call distributed power control products. And one of the things to note, we'll get into this more detail, but as you're thinking about these, be aware that you can also define where they go. And one of the tricky parts of working with these is often they wind up over a ceiling and then they disappear. Keeping track of where they go is something that's really important and something that you can control. Power infrastructure. So these are our larger products. Again, all of these are connectable onto the Echo bus. So these are all products that can talk to one another directly. Our power control panels offer will support 5 additional power output devices or 6 control devices on the Echo bus. so without needing a separate station power supply. They also have a built-in time clock functionality, and so you don't need to add those into your system. The Echo Relay Panel mains feed will accept up to a 200 amp main feed. It can be provided with or without a main circuit breaker. We have a variety of circuit breaker options for that. And it consists of a standard breaker panel on the top, and then below that we can support up to 24 control outputs. These can be either 1-pole, 2-pole, or 3-pole relays at 120 volts. It could be single-pole relays at 277 volts. And at 120 volts, we also have a 300-watt phase-adaptive dimmer module option. You can use this entirely as a dimmer panel if you want, if that suits your application. You can use as many up to the 24 outputs as you want on those dimmers. You can mix and match. Again, because it's mains feed, this will be either a normal feed or a normal emergency feed. You can't have some out. But you won't be mixing 120 and 277 or things like that. However, this does offer load shedding. It is UL 924 listed for emergency lighting, and you can select which of your lights are on or off during an emergency state. One of the nice things about this product is it's extremely flexible. It gives you a lot of, the circuit breaker panel at the top has 5 additional slots. So it covers the 24 branch circuits that are controlled by the relays at the bottom. It also has a breaker that's dedicated to the control processor. And then you have 5 additional slots that can be used for a variety of applications. You can use them to provide just extra hot power outlets around your space. You can use them to power, say, additional dimmers, if you need to use some of the 600-watt dimmers, for example, or other, to feed the other 5 Echo power products that the processor would support, if you need some additional circuits. Or you can even use them as a 3-phase breaker to subfeed a second panel. So there's a lot you can do with that. This is also the only panel that we have right now that will support GFCI. So if you have a water attraction or something else like that involved where you need to have the GFCI protection on your wire, we can support that with the Echo mains feed. That is currently the only product we have doing that due to some changes in regulations about GFCI. Yes? It does not have integrated surge protection. So we have, again, for this product, well, I'll get through the other ones and then I'll go through some of the other control options we have. So the feed-through version of the Echo Relay Panel has the exact same control processor. All of the controls all the control options are the same. What it does not have is a main power feed. So these are all branch-fed breakers. This is essentially a room controller on steroids. So you can control up to 48 outputs. With this, it does not support the integrated dimmer, but it will do up to 48 relays. This also offers 2-pole, 277-volt relays. So this is the one product we have that will do 277-volt 2-pole relays. So if you're working with parking lot lights or sports lighters and other things like that, this product will support those circuits. It comes in 2 different basic sizes. What you're seeing here will support up to 48 outputs. If you basically take the bottom section off below the control processor, that version will hold up to 24. And so, again, you don't have a large empty cabinet you're not using. This can be like the room controller, mixed and matched, so you can bring in 120-volt branch circuits, 277-volt branch circuits, normal circuits, and emergency circuits within the same panel and have it all function together. Sensor IQ is a little different to the relay panel. It's very similar to the Echo Relay Panel mains feed in that they're both mains fed, they're both relay control. However, in the intelligent breaker panel, we are able to add twice as much circuit density within the same panel size. So we can support up to 48 circuits with Sensor IQ rather than 24 with the Echo Relay Panel mains feed. We're able to support at 120 volt, 1, 2, or 3-pole breakers. We also have single-pole breakers in the 277-volt panels. Sensor IQ is a little bit more high performance oriented. The breakers are high inrush breakers designed for working with LED loads, particularly performance loads. So these are going to do a much better job of avoiding nuisance tripping when connected to an LED system. It's what it was designed for, and it's something that is reflected a little bit in the cost. But this will take up to 25 times your overcurrent instead of up to 10 times your overcurrent in terms of supporting inrush. Sensor IQ, again, the exact same controller, so the exact same control functionality, sits on the Echo bus, has the time clock, and provides, we have both controlled and non-controlled breakers. So what we've developed is a circuit breaker that has a built-in latching relay for use with, and this allows you to double up, again, your circuit density rather than having to have the breakers here and here. One of the advantages of this is an extremely easy to install panel. Electricians love this because it is extremely simple. You put your main feed in and you just slot the breakers right in. It requires a lot less wiring in the field than a lot of our other devices and a lot of competing devices. And again, whereas the ERP panels, the Echo Relay panels, stop at 20 amps for a branch circuit, we go up to 30 amps on a branch circuit with Sensor IQ. So within all three of these, so Sensor IQ, Echo Relay Panel mains feed, Echo Relay Panel feed through, we have control options. They all come with a network port built in. We also have available 0 to 10 volt outputs for each possible output in the panel, so up to 48 0 to 10 volt outputs. We also have Dolly outputs available up to 48. We also have a contact input card that can be used to trigger preset sequences. Basically anything a contact input would do in Echo controls, you can do using these cards. We also have some emergency accessories and some other things, again, to just help you customize that panel for your application. We could certainly talk more about that after, but we're got a lot to cover and don't want to get too far into the weeds. Also, part of the Echo system is our DRD, sorry, I'm a nerd, DRD power controller enclosure. So these are dimmer racks. We have a wide range of modules that can be used with DRD, relay modules, constant circuit modules, dimmer modules. We've recently launched a new module called Phase Adept. Phase Adept modules are forward or reverse phase dimmer modules, specifically for dimming LED replacement lamps. We've done a lot of work to improve the performance of Phase Adept over our current ELV modules. And one of the tricky parts in dealing with dimming LEDs directly is that you now have, rather than having a physical interaction between a wave of electricity and a tungsten filament, you now have a series of control electronics talking to another series of control electronics using a chopped up sine wave as their communications protocol, right? So in phase dimming any LED, you are going to have challenges that say if you were to just put a wall box dimmer that just like in your dining room that you just turn the knob up or down, that is going to have fewer challenges than any controlled dimming system will have in dimming an LED. So it's important to set your expectations appropriately when you're talking about that. And we've done a lot of work to improve this. Having it absolutely perfect is probably something that no one's going to be able to do when you're talking about a controlled dimming system. But Phase Adept is a huge step forward. One of the other advantages of Phase Adept is that it will work with any ETC power enclosure in the field. So if you have a facility that has an old Unison DR rack, you can use Phase Adept. If you have a brand new DRD, you can use Phase Adept. If you have a sensor rack with a CEM Classic processor, you can use Phase Adept. CEM3, Phase Adept. MPE, Phase Adept. And we did this by installing basically there's a dimming engine built into the module. And so you're able to use it either with a current rack that has a current control processor or any of the processors we have out in the field. So Phase Adept is new enough that we weren't able to get it into this PowerPoint, but it's something I want to make sure you're aware of. There's a lot of information available for it out on our website, and it fits right into DRD. DRD with Echo, these will also support a paradigm processor. So if you have a paradigm system and you need some power control, high density power control with DRD, you can have the paradigm processor and station power module sitting right inside your dimmer rack without having to have a separate enclosure on the wall just to hold your paradigm processor. These will support up to 48 circuits. When you bus two of them together, they are a little bit more low profile than our sensor racks. And again, we have 120 volt or 277 volt panels available. So that's one of the big differences between DRD and sensor. We don't have a 277 volt option for sensor. And again, this will sit right on the Echo bus and work within your entire Echo system. And then we have a series of the station power supplies. If you need more than the base power supplies that are in our Echo panels, we offer a variety of station power supplies that I'm sure in your other classes you would use to plot out your whole larger Echo system. So that's got us through Echo. Any questions on Echo power infrastructure? All right. Next up, we have Foundry. Unison Foundry. So we started with Unison Echo. We had these distributed products. They worked great. They were helping people integrate larger systems. But as we started working more and more with larger, say, stadium projects, arena projects, where people wanted to have the space required some large power panels to cover lobby areas and sort of the ring around the arena areas and more general lighting. They also wanted to have some smaller isolated power control systems that were covering club suites and other places like that within the venue. And so they needed paradigm level control to cover their entire facility, but they needed Echo level power control to cover all of the different spaces. And we wanted to take out that need for the bridge and sort of almost competing control philosophies and make it simpler for people to utilize, again, get better access to Paradigm or better access to Mosaic via their power infrastructure. And that's really where Foundry was born. So Foundry mini panels and zone controllers are extremely similar to the products I was just talking about with Echo, but rather than being controlled on the Echo bus, they're controlled over DMX RDM. So starting out with the mini panels, again, very similar to the room controllers. You have 4 outputs or 8 outputs. The power input is all the same. The emergency functionality is the same. What they don't have is the contact input. They don't have the time clock option. Other than that, they're the same as you would get with an Echo room controller. So again, this allows you to have multiple small spaces that are directly controlled by Paradigm or Mosaic without having to go through an Echo bridge in order to get that same kind of discrete power control.
Can those be installed horizontally?
Yeah, I mean, as long as you've got a ceiling or something to install them to, yeah. They don't use contactors that require a certain orientation.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, you can mount them however you need to.
Thank you.
Yep. So our relay and 0 to 10 volt controllers, these are a little bit different from Echo in that we found it wasn't cost effective for us to provide a single zone unit. So instead what we did was all of our relay and 0 to 10 volt controllers are 2 outputs, so a single 20 amp input and then 2 relays. They can, however, be set to function either on 1 DMX address or 2 DMX addresses. So if you only need a single zone of control, you're not wasting a DMX address in the device. So both relays will simply operate in unison at that point. And if you only need one set of wires, you can just cap those off and ignore them for the second output. Does that make sense? Cool. And then again, phase adaptive dimmers. Same specs as with Echo, 600 watts, 1 watt minimum, phase adaptive, again, not compatible with our MLV loads, magnetic loads, same as with the 300 watt and the Echo main speed panel. And also, we are working on the forward phase MLV module for these, as well as in the Echo panel. So fairly straightforward, again, taking DMX straight from Paradigm or Mosaic or any other system. One of the things to go back to here with a mini panel, so part of being DMX controlled is this now allows for some really interesting cross-pollination in systems where when you think of all LED lighting rigs, you now have some really fascinating creative possibilities in spaces like a cafe gymnatorium or a house of worship where maybe they don't need a huge system or they don't have a lot of circuits. With 4 or 8 20 amp circuits, you can power quite a lot of LED fixtures. So say a 4 output room controller on 4 20 amp circuits, that's 36 color source spots. So I can have a pretty nice lighting rig in a small scale theatrical space that is being controlled. The power control is directly over DMX through Foundry, and maybe I'm using a color source AV and being able to just come in, run a show, on, park my channels and walk away, and I don't need to have a big dimming, figure out where to put a big relay rack or a big dimmer rack. So as the fixture side of technology gets broader and more sophisticated, what's required for that power infrastructure can be reduced significantly and allow people to, again, have access to the art of what we provide without having to put as much investment into the infrastructure to make that happen. Any questions on Foundry? All right. Oh, hey. So, sensor 3, and this is one of the things I want to mention is before we dig into sensor, is that this is a system not just for the stage. That there is, for a lot of venues that are doing architectural lighting only, sensor provides an extremely high density circuit distribution power enclosure in an extremely small footprint. So again, if you're doing an entire facility where you may be able to cover all of the lighting needs in 96 circuits or less, thanks to the benefit of LEDs and the low power usage that they have, you can fit a sensor rack into a much smaller electrical closet than you might other power control options, and get everything into a single rack. So there's a lot of possibilities here that I want to encourage you to think outside of just a theatrical application with sensor. Again, phase adapt will work in sensor, relay modules, constant circuit modules. There are a lot of things that we can do with sensor that are not just about dimming a source 4 tungsten fixture. And that's part of what we've done to adapt to change here. Sensor comes with a CEM3 controller. As Lowell mentioned, this will sit right on your concert system. It's very easy to configure remotely and monitor remotely that way. So as you're networking, again, depending on the size of your venue, the size of the facility that you're working with, we can network dozens and dozens of these racks together in a way that makes it easy to have a central monitoring system. And one of the things about ETC that's different from a lot of companies that are doing this is we actually started at that level and have worked our way down to Echo and to the single room control. So our expertise and our background is actually much, much broader at areas where the rest of the industry is trying to get where we are there, having started with a single room at a time. And so as we get to larger power infrastructure systems, larger control infrastructure systems, we've been doing that as long or longer than anybody in our industry. With the CEM3, this is still one of the main things I want to mention is that this is still a software that is being maintained. So if you are using sensor racks in your facility and you find that there is something that you would love to see improved on the interface, or in the way that it functions or the way that it networks, please give us feedback and let us know, because we are still maintaining and updating that software. It is still active. So we have not just sort of put sensor on hold and left it behind. We are still actively developing in sensor. And we've looked at a lot of other options. We've thought about, gosh, sensor's been around 25 years. You know, we had a big celebration of 25 years of Source 4. I said, well, I want t-shirts for sensor as well. Because you can't have one without the other, right? And so, and there are places that still have their 20-year-old sensor racks humming away. It is just that solid and dependable, and we've actually found it quite difficult to improve on it. So we're still very active in developing sensor, and we're looking at ways that we can continue to tweak sensor here and there in order to make it that much more suitable for the future. One of the ways that we've done that is by continuing to add to our module selection, and I want to focus on the through power modules. How many people are familiar with through power modules? So most of you, yeah. The transition to LEDs isn't always easy, and that has a lot to do with budget. There are millions of Source 4 tungsten fixtures out in the world, and throwing them away is not, it's a big ask, right? And yet there is so much that you can get out of having color changing LED fixtures. And so, or just LED fixtures if you're using source forward, for example. What the through power modules are designed to do is allow you and your facilities to transition over time. You know, where we accept that this is not something that can be just a hard cutoff, but we want to allow you to either build a new facility or to adjust your facility over time to make sure that, again, you have access to new technologies. This includes movers as well, right? And movers are often far more sensitive. Even in switched mode, a D20 module can cause damage to certain moving light fixtures. We've done a pretty good job at ETC of ensuring that our fixtures will work with any of those dimming modules set into switched mode, but not everybody does that. And they don't make sensor racks, so in a sense, why should they? That's fair, but we want to make sure that your fixtures that you've invested in are being protected and are able to be used properly. Again, we want you to have access to the investments that you've made for art. And through power is a big part of that. And what we've done with through power, one of the things that also, to make you aware of, we have, in association with through power, we have a program for updating your sensor system. So if you have an existing sensor system that's been around a while and you want to start adding more LED fixtures into your rig, we have a program that a dealer will come out, they will clean out your dimmer rack, vacuum it out, replace the door filter, replace the fan, and get you a CEM plus or CM3, wow, CM3 processor and through power modules at basically at a package rate. And so working with your local dealers and reps, we can help part of that. One of the other things that will do is at that time, we will also renew your warranty on that sensor rack for another 2 years. So you will basically be able to get it spiffed up, nice and clean, and ready to go for the future. One of the things that we've added recently that I want to talk about and keep talking about more with people is a free app, through power system reporter app, or TPS reporter. This will allow you to take the most advantage of a through power system in your facility by adding QR code stickers to your distribution strips. So these QR codes read very simply which space and which circuit you're looking at. So I put the one, circuit 1, circuit 2, right next to the outlet that says 1 and 2. When as an stage electrician, I can have this app on my phone. As long as my phone is connected to a wireless access point connected to your CEM3, I can very easily scan that QR code on my phone. It will bring up the options for that module in the CEM3, whether that's dimmed mode or switched mode. I hit it, I change it. If I'm putting in a mover or an LED, I change it from dimmed to switched. Now, before I plug it in, without having to yell at somebody up at the booth or walking down to the power room, I can know that I'm putting the right power on the right fixture. If I'm swapping out an LED to tungsten, I want to make sure it's going to dim. I can do that, and then I have a test functionality just to make sure that I've got everything connected right. And again, I don't have to be yelling at somebody else or wandering all over my facility to do it. Yeah? They are not. They're an access. You have to ask for them. They are also, if you have existing distribution, they are actually available. Sheets of these labels are available on our website for direct purchase. It's one of the first items that we have for direct purchase to customers. So they're about $1 a sticker. And again, allows you to just very quickly get the most out of your through power system. Yeah? When you order them, you customize the number? Yes. If you do that, you'll need to go through like a quotations process, because we have to do that. We have to manage that. We don't have custom available on the direct purchase, but you can get them set up however you like. So again, and if you have, say, like work light circuits and other things, so they're not just 1, 2, 3, but maybe you have a R3 or a WL1, they could be customized that way as well. So again, the app is free, but we just wanted to get you the most out of having a through power system. So great, I can change over, but now we wanted to make it as easy as possible for that change to happen. Any questions on sensor? All right. We are trucking along, and now we're going to get into rigging. So ETC rigging is, again, I want to focus, as we talk about rigging, I want to, again, focus on this concept of access. And in this case, it's not just access to technology. It's not just access to the control systems that we provide or the fixtures that we've developed, but this is about accessing the creative potential of space, the creative potential of 3 dimensions. And this is not just within the rectangular box of a proscenium stage. There is space all around us that has potential. And for many places and many facilities, finding that rectangular box is becoming more and more difficult. Budgeting it for schools is changing to make that harder and harder to come by in a lot of cases. School boards are starting to say, hey, what if we just had some steps that we could use? What if we put the stage out in the middle of a lobby area instead? Because that's a lot of money for that rectangular box. Or what if we want to do more than just that? What if we want to have a space and something else? And it's not just about limiting to not having a theater space, a dedicated theater space, but it's about saying, hey, what if we took advantage of all of these other spaces where we could, again, create more opportunities for creativity, more opportunities for art. And so as I'm talking about rigging, I'm not just talking about lifting products. I'm not just talking about products that can get something out of your way. I'm talking about products that can give you access and bring something in. So whether that's signage or banners, whether that's artwork, sculptures, other things that you want to display in places that are hard to get to without having to use lifts or scaffolding or ladders. You know, bringing that technology in, being able to teach our students about how creative, about how, you know, using science classes to talk about additive color mixing and color science, about LED and electronics technology. What we're providing are things that are not just art tools, but they're part of an entire STEM program or STEAM program that can be utilized in education. You know, lobbies and atriums and places like that. If you want to, you know, more and more companies are finding places where they want to have all company meetings. They're learning the value of gathering people together into community. And rigging products allow you access to that kind of community organizing by being able to bring in a screen or a projection system or, again, you know, different signage or artwork or things to make your space just something that's more pleasant to be in, an environment, and just change your environment from something that's sterile and difficult to something that is creative and life-giving. So that's what I talk about when I talk about rigging. And it's something, and I'm going to start with our newest product with that. So this is Prodigy Flypipe. Prodigy Flypipe is a self-climbing hoist system. It comes as, it starts with 2 pieces that are combined to be 18 feet long. It'll support up to 50 feet of vertical travel, and it will lift 500 pounds added on to the fly pipe. From there, we can add 10-foot segments up to 38 feet in total length. Very shortly, we will be releasing a version that has a slightly larger motor, and we'll be able to support up to 58 feet in total length. Again, all of the versions of FlyPipe lift 500 pounds. In order to meet some of those challenges, this is, again, as a self-climbing unit, we are taking lift lines at every 10 feet, and we are attaching the structure to simple unistrut overhead. This is imposing no lateral loads on your structure. It's only lifting vertically. So it's much easier. It's very simple for a structural engineer to work with and to design a system to work with it. It also means it's very easy to get it into places that don't have just a square ceiling. An installer can work with the cable lengths and such so that, again, if you have, say, a peaked ceiling or something else, say a house of worship, you're able to work within that and then bring your FlyPipe up evenly underneath that, even if the surface above is not just flat. So this can go in a lot of places that our other hoist products can't. And it imposes a lot less of a challenge on your building structure, especially if that was not originally designed for rigging. So again, bringing access to places where that space wasn't considered before as anything other than just something that could be open, now gives you a place, something that you can put into that open space and take full advantage of it. How many people saw the dragon in shipping on the tour that you had? Right, these are the kinds of things that when I talk about potential of space, that's a great example of that. And it just changes the entire environment. Yeah. It is available as a custom, so it would not be available in white because it's anodized. We can't anodize white. What it is available, though, would be a silver, basically clear anodized finish as a custom option. What we've found in rigging in general is that with that kind of finish, it actually does better in a white ceiling because it's going to reflect the exact color of white that the architect selected rather than having our color of white, which never matches anything. Because nobody wants just a white ceiling, they want that slightly not white ceiling, right? But yeah, that's available as a custom option. So looking at some of our other hoist options then, we have mostly what I want you to get out of this image here is we've got something for everyone, okay? We have within our P1 and EXO products, we can support up to 2,000 pounds at a fixed speed. We can support up to 1,200 pounds at variable speed. And we can support a wide number of cable management options. We have products that can mount vertically to the wall. We have products that mount underhung or on top of a grid. We have products that can replace where you might have had a counterweight system with our NXT class hoists that are very narrow. We're able to take up basically the same amount of horizontal space, upstage, downstage, as your arbor wall. And again, access, what these are also providing for in a theatrical space is access to the benefits of having rigging and access to safety, and allowing students to be able to utilize a theater space without having to lean over a load gallery with someone grabbing their belt with 60 pounds of pig iron in their hands. As fun as that is, insurance companies and supervisors don't love it as much. But it allows you, again, that creative potential, giving you access and giving more people access to that. Students who are not just, students with challenges, right? Being able to work with a foundation desk instead of having to look at the other people using the rigging system and not being able to participate because of challenges they face that other students don't. Again, access for everybody. So we also offer with P75, we support up to 75 feet of vertical travel. We support up to 3,300 pounds of fixed speed lifting capacity. We have a self-climbing option for that as well that connects directly into a truss system that we developed with Tomcat. And so again, being able to have, we have with the NXT class, we have a lot of customizing options, a broader range of variable speed options within that class of hoist. And then we're able to do custom work as well. We provide stadium scoreboard hoist for a wide number, a broad number of arenas. We've done rigging at the Daytona Speedway. There's several Toyotas that are lifted by ETC rigging. We've built hoists that support up to 125,000 pounds in Mexico City. So ETC, we've been shipping rigging for 10 years now, just as ETC rigging. So we have a lot of experience in this industry, and we have people that have come into ETC from our German sales office has been doing rigging for 20 plus years. The team that we brought in when we purchased the Vortec product line has been doing rigging for 20 plus years. So we have an incredible team and a great deal of experience, and we're going to be able to provide something for your venue or for a new facility that's going to help you to access its potential. Looking a bit more quickly, say with P1. So this product was pretty revolutionary in that it gave you, we have 2,000 pounds of hoisting capacity in a product that is about 1/3 of the length and half the weight, which means that these can be installed in half the time with a smaller team of people. This allows you to get your whole system price, your installed price, at much more competitive basis. But with the compression tube that we have, this compression tube, and without getting, again, too much in detail, essentially we figured out a way to take the lateral load off your building. So if you have a structure that wasn't designed for rigging, the biggest challenge to that steel is not the force this way, it's the twisting force on it when you start pulling a lift line across the stage in order to lift it up. The compression tube that we developed literally compresses to absorb that force so that the only thing that's being transferred to your building is, again, that vertical lifting load. Again, allowing you to have access to rigging, access to the creativity of being able to pull something up out off the stage really quickly, being able to do complex scenery changes quickly, being able to run a cue stack with your show in order to have a fully automated show in a place that maybe you didn't think you could because it wasn't designed with that in mind originally. And then in controllers as well, we've innovated there, and we have, again, something for everyone. With our Quick Touch and Quick Touch Plus, what you get for what you pay is unlike anything else in the industry. Quick Touch is very simple, fixed speed. It allows you to select a hoist or a series of hoists to move simultaneously. Simple, straightforward up-down control. It provides you real-time load information, real-time location information, and it allows you to establish a preset location where essentially it will pause on the way down and on the way up at that point that you've selected for that motor. And for a facility it also provides error logging. It allows you to establish a load profile for each of your hoists. So if you have drapery, for example, on it, as that drapery comes in, it starts going into the hamper, the load on the hoist gets lighter. It doesn't stop because it thinks it's suddenly underloaded and is no longer safe. It's going to carry on because you've established that load profile for it. And all you have to do to establish a load profile is turn a key, run it up and down, and you've established that load profile. It's very simple, very straightforward, very easy to do. All of our hoist systems come with a basic slackline safety system built in. So slackline detection, if you're coming in, somebody left a ladder on the stage, all of a sudden your batten starts doing this, we're going to stop automatically. Again, load profiling, load detection. So a kid decides they want to hang on a pipe going up, it will stop as soon as it detects that overload. These are all dual braking systems. These are all safety features that we've built into everything. These are not options that we wanted to provide because we don't think safety is optional, right? And so we put as much safety as we could cram into every product in rigging as we could, including our most basic control system. Moving up from QuickTouch, with the QuickTouch Plus, what we've added here is some additional preset options, and we've added variable speed motor control as well. Again, this is not something you program. This is fairly straightforward. I select the hoist I want. I move it. If it's variable speed, I can change the speed as it's going. These systems, QuickTouch, QuickTouch Plus, are really for spaces where you're doing basic setup and maybe running a main curtain. Most of your rigging at this point is going to be things that you do to get the lights in so you can rehang your plot or refocus. It's not necessarily something you're going to be doing a lot of complex scene changes with. But again, for a facility where that's all you need the rigging to do, we didn't want to saddle you with a huge cost expense for a controller that does way more than you need. Foundation controllers are really the Cadillac of rigging controls at this point. We design it very specifically. If you're looking at the interface here, any of you familiar with our lighting control consoles should feel very familiar. We wanted that look and that feel of the foundation console to be something that's very familiar and very easy to navigate, that feels like an ETC console, because it is an ETC console. With Foundation, you're able to, add cue stacking, presets, be able to set a large number of individual presets and group presets within a system. And we're continuing to add features all the time into Foundation. We have 2 versions of Foundation. We have the Foundation Desk, and then we have a wall mount version of it as well. And I'm getting short on time, so the last thing I want to focus on is QuickTouch Preset. QuickTouch Preset is our latest rigging controller. We released it earlier this year, and we started talking about it last year. One of the things that is great about QuickTouch Presets, so this was designed, in some ways this is even easier than a regular QuickTouch program, QuickTouch controller. Because what we have done is allow you and your commissioning technician to establish the basic looks that your space is going to have. So if you have a space where you're going to be doing, band practices or choir rehearsals or other, or just, choir show, whatever it is, if you have a space where you have a lot of your main users are not going to be people who have a theatrical background or who are really trained to use it as a theater space, but just need to be able to come in and have enough training to say, keep your eyes on this while it's moving. And if that's the level of training required, then we can establish with you, and our technicians can establish, okay, what are the places you need? Okay, I need a curtain in. I need a curtain out. I need my electrics in. I need to have band practice. And these presets can all be established and named by you. You can establish passwords to determine which ones different users see. And then all they need to do is select that preset on the screen and hold down the go button, which is also a dead man switch. And just like that, you have virtually anyone with a very minimum amount of training can safely operate your rigging system in your space without you having to always be able to find that one kid who went to the 4-hour all-day training and be able to do it quickly. One of the other things that QuickTouch Preset provides is using the OSC protocol, we are able to integrate our rigging controls with Paradigm or with EOS to provide you with magic sheet information. If you go to the product demo area, you can see this in action, or rather if you were at the factory, I believe we had that in action, but we are able to make magic sheets that show you in real time where your rigging system is. We're not going to let you control rigging over EOS because that's dangerous, but we are going to allow you to interact, and we are going to be able to set up a QuickTouch preset to say also turn on the work lights. Now I can hit the work light button, and through OSC, I'm talking to Paradigm or EOS to get the work lights on from the same control box, so I don't have to have one controller for my lights and one controller for my rigging. So we are working constantly to give you access through our ETC rigging products. That is my time for that. Is there any questions on rigging? Yes?
Does this work in
So the QuickTouch preset will not integrate directly with QuickTouch or QuickTouch Plus. It will work with Foundation. They're actually the same hardware. Is a Foundation remote station, which can link you directly into Foundation. It's a little bit trickier if you're trying to use it as QuickTouch preset and Foundation, but we do have an option for that hardware profile to be working with Foundation directly.
So how do you set your presets? Is that done during commissioning?
Yes, so presets are set during commissioning. There is a way to change it. It depends on how much you trust the users on site. And it's all password access. It's all about password protection for that. Any other? Yeah.
Can the power infrastructure replace a relay panel and a regular panel system that's already in place?
Yes, absolutely. It depends. So can you replace existing power infrastructure systems? Yes, the question there will be how much electrical contractor work will be required. But it's absolutely possible. We just may need to look at, it depends on how it was run originally, into what we would do with it, but it certainly can be done. Any other questions on that? Yes.
So Foundation, then, can you use it with any of the QuickTouch products? So that, like, if you need another emergency stop?
So if you need another e-stop, we have remote e-stop stations that you can just add directly into Foundation. That would be the way to do that. For the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and cut that off there. I will be available here the rest of the day. I'm the only Ned at ETC that I'm aware of, so you can also just call the factory and ask for Ned. And be happy to talk to you more about it. Thanks very much for your time today. Enjoy the rest of the day.